Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest Chapter 205 is officially out, and this chapter addresses a bit of my concerns, but not completely, but also leads us to the very obvious degree that we are moving on to a different story arc to a degree, as it seems that things have ended in failure for the main cast, as we're moving on to the next stage of this series to potentially be the actual finale arc of the manga for this point. At least based off of my speculations. But we'll get into this chapter because this was actually a lot of fun and does, obviously, things that what Fairy Tail does, kind of throw power scaling out the window to a degree, so we'll talk about that when we get to it. But before we jump into this chapter, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and it shows you guys know the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. Same with hyping up the video to boost it in the algorithm to help more potential Fairy Tail fans that don't know about the manga right now to know about the manga and start reading as well, and to check out these videos. So that would help out a lot. I also have a second channel called GW Comics where I talk about American comic books. It's a passion project of mine off on the side. Just broke 1,000 subscribers a little bit ago. I've got some stuff planned to do there on the side as well. So if you guys like comic books or just want to see me talk about comic books, go and check out the channel in the description down below and in the title card up above. I would really appreciate it. But with that out of the way, let's jump right into this chapter. Chapter 205 of 100 Years Quest, titled Black Flames of Destruction. And the cover image is of Ignia in his new form, kind of. But what I think is interesting is that underneath his left hand with the ACNOLOGIA arm that he has now, there's a magic circle. Now, I could be reading way too far into this because here's the thing. Magic circles, unless it's specifically magic circle magic and stuff like that we've seen from Mystigan in the past, is not a thing in the manga, for the most part, save for specific spells. The magic circles things was only a thing in the anime for visual flair. So what could be done here? This could be a little bit of foreshadowing that we'll be getting magic circles for specific spells again in the manga, which I would really like. And for Ignia's plan to kind of go a bit more and to kind of expand on how magic is used in Fairy Tail, I would love to see magic circles be brought back into the story to this degree. This could just be, obviously, just a bit of visual flair for Ignia in this new form, but I would really like magic circles to make a comeback in some degree in this series. But either way, that's all I gotta say about the cover image. The chapter begins directly from last time, where Ignia breaks out from basically taking back control of his body and absorbing the powers of Ferris and the powers of ACNOLOGIA as well from Ferris, with Natsu in shock. But he clenches his fist as he's getting a feel for his body, but he then clenches it so hard, he gives a bit of a test and unleashes a giant wave of black destructive flames swirling around him, hitting Natsu as we see it actually begin to burn him. These flames are so strong that they are burning the Fire Dragon Slayer. Now, we've seen stuff like this slightly in the past. Now, I gotta remind people about something. Dragon Slayers are not immune to their elements, they are highly resistant to their elements. If the element is strong enough, it will deal them damage. That is a clear-cut fact of the story that has been relatively consistent outside of a few different instances. But Slayers are not immune, they are resistant. I have to point that out again to prove why Ignia's flames are doing damage to Natsu, especially after his power-up. But this does also show Ignia's strength, as with the boost flames, he's actually able to burn Natsu's body, someone with very high fire resistance. But it's then, Ignia gets a voice in his head saying, "Oh, you thought you absorbed me? Well, whatever. I'll accompany you for a bit, because your goal has changed to destruction," as Ferris' spirit body basically appears behind Ignia, as all he did was push her away. He didn't completely erase her spirit, which I'm actually kind of glad for. This could give some more fun, back and forth moments with Ferris and Ignia, since now, to a degree, their goals have aligned, with Ignia now wanting to just flat out destroy humanity to a degree. So, Ferris is getting behind this, and it's also very possible that her soul is still intact. She just can't take command of the body at this point. Maybe ever. But who knows? But Ignia is just confident just working with Ferris at this point, since his goals have shifted, and he's got just insane powers right now. And he's getting ready to use them. As, in a blink of an eye, he disappears and punches Natsu straight in the chest, taking the air out of his lungs. But also, what's interesting, we see flames burst in his body as we see him steaming and Natsu just yelling in pain and agony. Ignia hit Natsu so hard that he ignited flames within him. That is something we haven't seen before. Ignia was able to burn the inside of Natsu's body. Again, Natsu's resistant to flames, so this didn't outright kill him and boil his insides alive. But for that to actually hurt him, especially and actually do an internal damage from a single punch, is crazy. Ignia goes on to say that the world's being engulfed in imprisoning flame and darkness. It's bound to fall apart. As he left hooks Natsu right in the face, and then gets ready to unleash a blazing fire fist at Natsu, saying, oh wait, no, it's not going to get destroyed. It's going to get burned to ash. As Natsu blocks with his forearm, telling Ignia to give him a break, and headbutts him, with Natsu not backing down, saying, why are you burning the path that would have left you to live with humans? You're Igniel's son. Ignia just responds that Igniel is dead, so he died because of his own weakness. That obviously pisses off Natsu, as he says, you don't understand a thing. No dragon's as strong and kind as he was. Now look, people are going to say that Igniel wasn't that strong because he lost to pre-time skip ACNOLOGIA. Pre-Alvarez ACNOLOGIA, pre-time rift ACNOLOGIA. But remember, that was Igniel's soul and near death, matching ACNOLOGIA for a prolonged fight in physical combat, and even pushing him back with his own flames. So that is a crazy thing to do. ACNOLOGIA was just a bit stronger than he was and managed to rip off half of his body towards the end of that fight. Igniel was pushing ACNOLOGIA in that fight to a certain degree. Imagine how strong Igniel would be in his prime after being in an era with, an overflowing of ether, nano, and magical energy in the world. He could have matched ACNOLOGIA in strength even more. Maybe even, but I don't think he would have beat him, but still. And also, Natsu is pointing out that Igniel was also so strong because of his kind heart, and, he raised Natsu with kindness and love, which influenced him throughout his life. So obviously, Natsu's going to have a soft spot and will champion for his dad. As Natsu squares him up in his face, punching Ignia, saying, looks like he wasn't blessed with a good kid, though, after all that. He's not counting himself, but I guess in terms of biology, yeah. Ignia is pushed back, but it's then that he notices what Alderaan is doing right now with the continent. As after Natsu also notices this stuff, Ignia puts it all together. That Dogramog and Alderaan's magic did fully mix. And now the ground, trees, and rocks are turning into dragons as well. But he's correcting himself, saying this might actually be a revised Universe Omega. As he, from an upward shot, just looking absolutely deranged, just says, the continent's just gonna fall apart in no time. Natsu, you couldn't do a damn thing to save anybody. So this does confirm that the continent itself is gonna fully just break apart and turn into multiple dragons. Whether they have ego or not, I don't think so, but that is still an interesting thing to show that this world is beginning to fall apart, at least for the continent. Destroying a continent like this is actually pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. But Natsu is still not having any of this, as he's still squaring up against Ignia. But Ignia, saying it's over, speed blitzes Natsu again and grabs him by the throat, staring him dead in the eye, saying that he is Ignia the Black Flame Dragon, as he engulfs Natsu in black flames. But Natsu grits his teeth to bear the pain of that fist, and I don't think he ate the flames, obviously. It would be cool if he did ate a bit of the flame. But Natsu bearing through that initial blast of fire catches Ignia off guard, and Natsu does something very familiar to fans of the series, as he creates a giant flaming fist, but not just any flaming fist. It is the rainbow flame fist that he used in his final attack against ACNOLOGIA when the Dragon Slayers basically had their powers enchanted into him for that last desperate struggle at the end of Fairy Tail. Why Natsu hasn't used this to begin with? Who knows? My guess, he probably didn't have enough strength to utilize it fully, and now with Ignio's flame, he's able to bring back that power. I'm just going to say this is a bit of fan service that Natsu just managed now to use his power again. So basically, Ignia is about to face the Friendship Punch that ended ACNOLOGIA, or as I said in my ACNOLOGIA Defeat Explained video, one piece into just knocking ACNOLOGIA off kilter so the Time Rift can kill him. But still, this catches Ignia and Ferris off guard, with Ferris telling Ignia to stop that attack. They're the flames that burned half my body. This is, again, it's weird. This could be the fact that she learned of how Natsu beat ACNOLOGIA to a degree, and she probably instantly put things together. Now she's talking about having these flames burn half her body. The last couple of chapters, especially when Ferris was beginning to fight Natsu, she started to talk like ACNOLOGIA again. So I do feel like now that she's in spirit form and absorbed by Ignia, the personality and ego of ACNOLOGIA is brought in, and with her future knowledge, the ACNOLOGIA personality or personality aspects are kind of influencing her and now Ignia. So that's interesting to say. It is a bit of a weird thing to say if you didn't know about that, because ACNOLOGIA's left arm obviously was not around to have memories of Natsu's flames. But that aside, Natsu unleashes the flames of the 7 dragons onto Ignia right point blank to potentially defeat or deal a massive blow to him, showing the strength of his bonds with his friends. But Ignia says, oh, don't worry, those flames are useless. My divine flame will burn everything to ash. As in a 2-page spread, Ignia unleashes endless divine black dragon conflagration as he breaks through Natsu's flaming fist and in a burst of dark flames, causes an explosion, knocks Natsu out of his Dragon King mode as his form falls apart and Natsu falls to the ground completely burned, with Ignia looking down at him, saying, when you see Dad in the next world, tell him that the world's going to be saturated with dragons again. And that ends the chapter. Now, obviously, first things first, Natsu lost, so this confirms that there is going to be another round to their fight in the future, with Natsu getting potentially another power-up. Now, what that power-up could be, I got no clue. But, who knows? I'm not sure where this could lead into. But with Ignia defeating the literal Friendship Punch, shows that now he is stronger than Natsu to just completely dog-walk him to a specific degree that Natsu got almost completely charred and knocked out of his Dragon King mode and destroyed the fist that managed to temporarily, knock out ACNOLOGIA to a specific extent. That is crazy. And I guess this was Mashima's way of showing just how far Ignia has come in terms of his strength, now that he has absorbed a good portion of ACNOLOGIA's flames and Ferris's black magic onto his now amped up true power as a dragon god, all culminated together. Is he as strong as Time Rift ACNOLOGIA at this point? Like literal full Time Rift ACNOLOGIA with his physical and spirit forms combined, because that is true power ACNOLOGIA at the end of the day. I don't know. Maybe close to it? Because Natsu's fist only really worked because it was allowed to connect. Again, go to my ACNOLOGIA Defeat Explained video where I fully break down everything that led to his defeat, including why the Friendship Punch helped seal the deal. But I do like the visual representation of this chapter, that Natsu couldn't beat Ignia with the same fist and power that he had when he beat ACNOLOGIA with the help of others. And that's also a symbolic way of showing your bonds aren't going to be enough to beat me right now. Now, I do wish we didn't have to fully introduce another ACNOLOGIA as character to amp up the main antagonist of the story, but this did lead to a fun interaction and a whole chapter just dedicated to this one singular fight with the amped up Ignia. So, I'm happy for that, even though I would have liked it to be another chapter. This does lead into Natsu being near death at this point, so what's going to happen next? Someone's going to have to save him out of nowhere, for all we know. It could be Eleftheria. Maybe Athena will show back up for some reason. Selene might get him out of there because she's still in the area somewhere. Who knows? But this does lead me to believe that the following chapters are going to be with all the characters that were in the area fully separated in different sections thanks to the dragons emerging from the continent, and us being in now dragon-esque locations that are just floating around everywhere with these new dragons being the embodiment of the continent of Giltina. And that's what we'll get our bearings for all the characters in their different spots. And then we'll probably get the setups for the fight against the Calamity Blitz. And later on, Ignia just getting ready to just burn the world. Either way, fun chapter, hype moments, cool fight. I am glad Natsu lost, even though he did just get a literal power-up that led him to be on the same level as Ignia and Ferris. But them combined utterly destroyed him. Either way, power scaling, no one really comes to Fairy Tail for power scaling anyway. This chapter was fun. I liked what we got. I do have concerns for obviously the power scaling, but also how far we're willing to push the series beyond what we already thought was going to be the final arc to a degree. I feel like I say to a degree way too often. Let me know. I think I say it way too much. It's a weird part of my vocabulary. But either way, I am still curious to see what's going to happen next. And hopefully, this is a sign that the stakes for the series are finally going to feel a bit more tangible. But again, I still have concerns, because this has happened multiple times in the story. But at least with this arc seemingly ending with the defeat of the heroes and everybody getting separated, it's a nice change of pace from all of 100 Years Quest up until this point. But you let me know in the comments below what you thought of this chapter and this fight. What do you think is going to happen next? How do you feel about Ignia being this strong, and the destruction of the literal friendship punch that signified multiple years of scorn from fairy tale haters for nearly a decade at this point? Let me know. And once again, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy and make it here on the channel, and shows you want to see more. With all that said and done, hope you all have an awesome day.